Welcome everyone on the call. We're very excited to get started. This is Live Ablaze, and we are on session 4 of Magnetizing Money. This is Lynetta.
And this is Mark. And we're going to do some awesome work diving in today, some of the limiting beliefs around money.
Anything you wanted to do on today's call, Erica? Any limiting beliefs you want us to tackle in particular?
Oh, gosh. I hadn't thought about it, but I guess one of the recurring themes for me is that this is pretty common for everyone, I think, is that I'm not worthy or I'm not deserving of things.
Carol?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Not worthy, not deserving. Okay, cool. All right. Who else has joined us?
This is Sonal.
Okay, Sonal.
This is Franco.
Is that Franco?
Welcome,
Yes.
welcome.
Welcome back.
Hi, sorry I'm late.
That's all right.
Not a problem.
We're just getting started.
Cool.
We're still kind of doing introductions as people get on the call.
Awesome.
Cool. How's your week going, Franco?
A little bit of good, a little bit of bad. Still haven't really found a replacement for the job that I'm going to be losing now in a week and a half, so I'm kind of down about that.
Okay.
There was a little bit more clarification of why they're letting me go, which is bittersweet. So, yeah.
Okay. Do you want to share about that?
Oh, well, part of it was, my lack of, I guess, taking incentive, but they admitted that the person who was supposed to train me didn't really have the time to, and that they, based on, I'm almost using the same words, they left me floundering.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of like a lose-lose situation where they needed me to be as productive as I could be. But the person who knows everything isn't really available to really sit down and train me. It compounds the problem.
Okay. So basically you weren't trained, and they kind of held it against you, so to speak. Yes?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm trying not to let it get to me, but it has been.
Totally get it. Okay. All right, great. And so now, anything you want to share? Anything you want us to address in this call?
No, just actually the same thing along the lines of not feeling worthy and not being able to get what I want.
Not worthy, not being able to get what you want. Okay. Okay, great. All right.
Okay, and Heather, did you have some attention, something you would like to have addressed in this call?
Yeah, I have the same one, not being able to get what I want, and it has a deserving component, and also it's too late for me.
Oh.
Can't get what I want, not deserving, too late.
Yeah, because I'll be 65 this year.
Too late.
Okay.
That's
Got
what you
it.
can do without that one.
Yeah.
Or how about all?
I want to laugh in that one's face.
Yeah.
We can handle that.
Yeah.
This is Frank. Can I add to that? It's auto.
Yeah.
Lately, for me, I've been feeling that. I've been feeling all of that, but also that I have worse luck than other people. Other people have better luck than I do.
Other people have better luck than you do.
Yes. Yeah. That they can attract abundance wealth better than I can.
Oh, yeah.
I'm
raising my hand for that one, too.
Yeah.
So I guess it boils down to I have like a bad luck energy field surrounds me.
Bad luck.
Yep.
And no fair goes with that, too.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
No fair.
Oh, okay, yes,
Life,
yes.
Yep, life is no fair.
Yes.
Okay. Got it.
Yep.
Okay, great.
All right. I think we have 1, 2, 3, 4. That's all of them. Okay.
Let's roll. One piece of information. We will be ending the call at 7:15 today because we're actually going to be going to a spiritual gathering.
Yes.
So we'll be ending a little early.
So 15 minutes earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have a paper and pen handy, that would be useful.
Yeah, we're going to give you some great tools for clearing things today, and you'll definitely want to write these down.
All right, so we're going to do a meditation and grounding. This will give us, will get us really present in the moment. Get comfortable in your chair, put down everything, close your eyes, take some nice deep belly breaths, and allow your shoulders to relax. Loosen your jaws. Just create a space around you where you feel no matter what's going on outside of your little bubble, you've got a sacred space around you where you can be quiet, calm, peaceful, being present, feeling your feet firmly on the ground. And feel your breath slowing you down, bringing you a quieter mind. And as your breath slows down and you get very centered, you notice your feet. You can feel the bottoms of your feet touching the ground and feel the sensations of that. We're going to have an experience of what it's like to have a soul perspective. So just notice what you're feeling in your body right now. And then bring your awareness to, if you were to be looking right from the top of the room down on your head. Just imagine that you can do this, even if you've never done it before. You might just imagine what it might look like if you were to be in the corner of the room looking down on top of your head. And this is a perspective of being the observer and feeling yourself being a little more detached to the human drama, whatever your personal human drama is. Feel yourself letting go and being more detached. Being in the observer role and noticing whatever you notice. Notice the room. Look around from that perspective. What does the room look like from this perspective, from being around where the ceiling is? So you're looking down on everything and actually seeing the tops of the pictures or the tops of the doorways or the windows. You're seeing the top of your head and also all the way around your body from this perspective of being above your body. And just aware and observing whatever your body is doing. And you feel yourself just being curious. Being curious about what it's like to be in your body. And right now, from this perspective, notice how you're just more of a detached observer. And then come back into awareness of being in your body, completely in. Imagine that your soul is coming in from the top of your head. It's like a dolphin hole at the top of your head and just pouring into your body all the way down into your arms, your soul's fingers and your finger sockets, all the way down your legs, through your ankles, through your feet, all the way into your feet sockets. And wiggle your toes and your fingers. Take a deep breath and notice you're very grounded and present in your body right here, right now. And take a nice deep breath. Exhale and open your eyes. All right. So we're going to jump right into how to find your limiting beliefs around money. So we started with the soul perspective because it helps us to get a better awareness of noticing what you notice and being in the observer role. You let go of the human drama and you just start to be more aware, more conscious. And in this perspective, there's no making yourself wrong. There's no worthiness, deserving. None of those apply from this perspective. So notice the emotional reactions regarding life and money. So when you're in a circumstance where you're feeling triggered around money, and I'm going to give you some examples of my own trigger. Yesterday we went to a tax preparation meeting. It was about a 5-hour meeting, and taxes is something that I have dreaded and in the past and not wanted to even think about. And partly I was holding back with my creating more money for myself, not wanting to pay more taxes. This was in my environment all through my childhood, and as I grew older, I met many more people who actually hid a big part of their income from the IRS, and they were challenged about creating more money and not wanting to pay more taxes. So in this meeting, I was feeling very challenged. I couldn't believe I was going to a meeting like this, but I knew it would be very good for me to go. and Mark was going, and it was very helpful to know that he was absorbing all this material, because for the first couple hours I was kind of glassy-eyed and felt like a deer with headlights with all this information and languaging that I'm not used to. And actually it was a conversation I would before run out of the room screaming and definitely wouldn't want to be a part of it. So now I was sitting there and saying, okay, wait a minute. After a couple hours, I thought, I need to really transform this, because I keep my energy really high, and I've noticed in my life that by keeping my vibration and my energy and feeling really good in my life really helps. So I brought that in during the meeting, and it did shift my whole perspective, and I began to hear it differently. And I also absorbed really valuable information that I needed and started taking notes and getting more engaged, and actually found it very useful. So the important thing I want you to do is to notice right now, what are your emotional triggers regarding money? When do you get triggered? What conversations do you avoid? And what are even the conversations that you're not aware of, and it may take a little more digging to really get down to what's at the root of that. Notice how you're feeling in your energy. Do you feel more alive, or do you feel like zapped of energy when you're thinking about this particular money challenge? So I noticed that my energy definitely picked up after I chose to shift the way I was looking at the taxes. And when I chose to bring it to a higher vibration and to feel good about it and to find something useful, my energy really changed to where I could see how it was a powerful choice to go and listen to how I can help myself in the conversation of taxes. And now I completely feel transformed around it. I am more than happy to do whatever I need to do to keep clean, clear records and create the kind of wealth that we want to create and have no problem paying taxes. And that's totally in my totally in my possibility today, where it wasn't even a couple of days ago. So now Mark is going to jump into how to clear. This is his strong suit. He really does well with clearing. So you want to take over from here?
Yeah. All right. So several of you mentioned the same things. So we had not being worthy, not deserving, not being able to get what you want. These, by the way, have been some of my lifelong paradigms as well. So I'm really familiar with them. Erica, you mentioned it. Sonal, you mentioned it. Heather, you mentioned it. You also had a too late because of your age in there. Franco, you had a slightly different spin on it. It's kind of like, well, other people do it better than I do. But that's almost the same thing, like I'm not worthy, I'm not going to get it, I don't deserve it. Other people can do it better than I can, I got bad luck. So at least 4 people have pretty similar paradigms here. And then 2 people jumped on the call since then. Any limiting beliefs you want to share before we jump in on these? Anything not mentioned? Okay, so let's go for these then. Okay. So the not worthy and not deserving. Okay, I'm kind of going to work with you sort of individually and collectively at the same time. So I'm going to really be asking for feedback here. So when I ask a question, just kind of like blurt out whatever your answer are, because there's at least 4 of you that are almost in the same place on all these. So when you said you felt not worthy, do any of you have a source for that, like a particular event?
I think I do.
Okay. What do you trace it back to? Yeah, Erica, go ahead.
So just in kind of casual searching for the source of it, I think it has to do, I'm guessing it has to do with my father, because my father could never really get his act together and couldn't keep a job down, and I don't know, I think also I heard he had an arrogance about he deserves better position, so he would be difficult to work with, so they'd fire him, or he just wouldn't accept jobs that he deemed below him. And so anyway, my mother divorced him because he just wasn't stable, but you know, he never really paid child support, never paid alimony, supposedly because he couldn't afford it. But even now I try to have a positive relationship with him. And, I mean, he's not wealthy by any means, but he has a home, and he's remarried, and they have way too many material goods. And he still, to this day, has never said, I'm sorry I never contributed to anything to your upbringing. Here's, you know, some... Or even, are you okay? Do you need help? Can I do something for you? Which is my definition of caring and love. Like, oh, at least he could make an effort or try. But even to this day, it's kind of like, la, 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 whatever. And never.
You got it. Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I got that. All right, so hold that for me, Erica. All right, somebody else. About why not worthy, some source of that maybe in your life that you recognize. So now, Franco, Heather, or anybody else on the call?
This is Heather.
Heather. Okay, go ahead.
Mine goes back to the whole thing about being a good girl, and if I didn't do everything right, then I wasn't a good girl. So if I do something that I feel like is less than my very best, whatever, you know, I'm always judging that as a survival technique.
And it was never good enough,
No,
right?
Never.
All right. Okay, so never good enough for other people, whoever it was. Okay, good. Anybody else? No, Franco? Anybody else?
This is Franco.
Franco, go ahead.
I grew up with my father telling me that I would never be as good, as successful as him without his help. something that I think he'll never be as successful as me. Because he was successful. He was very successful.
Did he give you a reason? I'm just curious.
Not directly, other than I just wasn't as ruthless.
As ruthless?
Ruthless. He would do anything and everything just about to increase his wealth. Yeah.
Yep, I got it. Wow. Okay. Got that. Thank you. We're definitely going to dive in on that one. All right, so now, anything you want to share?
Just the same thing. Same thing with my sister. My sister's less than a year younger than me, and I think she had better metabolism. And I'm Indian, and the Indian culture I think is very critical. So I have all these other moms look at me and my sister and tell my sister, I think this is probably around the age of 11, going through my teenage years, saying, to my sisters, oh, you're so pretty, oh, you're so skinny, just giving her more attention than me. And I just stood there looking, not saying anything as a quiet one and thinking to myself, why don't I get any good attention? No one says anything to me.
Great. Thank you. Okay. And anybody else on the call wants to share any sources they may recognize for any limiting beliefs about not worthy, not deserving, not getting what you want, anything along those lines?
This is Rachel.
Hey, Rachel. Welcome.
Hi.
Hey.
Yeah. Recently, I discovered that when I do get money, that I have a paralysis with it because a memory goes back of me holding a money jar as a kid, and I'm just paralyzed because I feel like if I spend it, it's going to be on the wrong thing, and if I save it, then it's just kind of, I'm tortured with it because it's mulling over in my head, all these things that I could or should be. And so it feels very helpless, like I don't have anybody to help me, like I don't know the know-how of how to manage my money. So what I've done is successfully pushed it away out of my life because I know perfectly how to survive in a victimhood and lack and do with what I have.
Okay, so yours is, it sounds like instead of it being people kind of like making you wrong, kind of like Franco shared, yours is kind of like more neglect and kind of feeling in the same boat. Does that feel right?
Repeat that. More what?
More sort of like you made up your beliefs from neglect. Does that feel correct?
Correct.
Kind of like you just had no guidance whatsoever about anything, and you had to basically create how the world works, and that there was nobody to help you.
Correct.
Okay. Got it. Okay. Anybody else here? All right, let's go for these. Let's go first to Franco. The thing you shared about your father saying you're never going to be as successful as him, and you're noticing that he was basically ruthless. He would do anything to make money. Now, I actually see this as a really good sign. Like for me, this is actually very, very complimentary of you, because basically it's saying you're a sensitive, ethical, caring person. And you were basically taught by example and verbally that if you want money, you're basically going to have to screw other people to get it. And internally, you were saying to yourself, I don't want to be that kind of a person. And if that's what it takes to be successful, I don't want it. Does that feel true for you?
Yes.
Totally?
Yes.
Okay. So, Franco, so if I say you're an amazing human being because you care so much about people that you won't do anything unethical, anything that doesn't feel right, can you take that in? Like, this is actually a good sign.
Yes.
So I want you to really, like, breathe that in. Like, wow, I'm really a caring. Now, actually, I want everybody to do this at the same time. But you're really an amazing human being. You really deeply care about people. You shared last week you were really touched about children, I believe, in particular, if they were in difficult situations, like you really feel it.
Yes.
So you're really an amazing, sensitive person. You really deeply care about other human beings. You get that, yes? You're really taking that in? Okay. So one of the things we do, and this is kind of going back to the soul perspective now, is we set up things for us in life as a contrast sometimes. Sometimes, I don't know if, well, I'm going to assume somewhere along the lines you've probably all heard that we choose our families and even like our parents.
Yes.
And if we assume that for a moment, that we've actually chosen the families we've all been born into, you know, and of course immediately, you know, if you haven't heard that idea before, you go, why in the world would I choose my family? Who would do that? What was the matter with me? But there are very, very good reasons for that. And one of those reasons is for the contrast. You know, if we want to decide who we are, sometimes we as souls decide we want to experience like both sides of love, caring, money, using people, being provided by people. It's like all the different things we could do in the world. Sometimes we literally set it up for ourselves to experience the opposite of what you would think a human being would want. It's not like we come here to experience, quote, the good life. Sometimes we want to experience the terrible ways people can treat other people. So if we just, you know, played around with the idea that, let's say, you picked a father who was purposely going to be ruthless in business, successful and ruthless at the same time, and you chose him as an example to look at to say, okay, that's one way to have money. Do I want to be that? And he was successful, yes?
Yes.
He had lots of money.
Yes.
So it was a great way for you to look at it and say, okay, is this the kind of life I want to choose for myself? And after you looked at it for enough years, you came up with a resounding, no way. That's not who I want to be. Do you get that?
Yes.
Okay. So here's the deal now. Where the freedom lies is releasing the person for being a role model. And I'm speaking to everybody on the call now. And I'm going to elaborate on this. Releasing the person as a role model for anything for you. And I'm going to give an example from my own life. In my teen years, my father and I had a very challenging relationship. In fact, one time we almost came to blows. Like the first time I stood up to him, he'd actually start to hit my mother, which he had never, ever done. And I actually stood up to him, and we were like face to face, nose to nose, and he blinked first and backed down, you know. And I kind of, you know, that whole period had this huge anger at him. I felt like I was not understood. Like he, in my opinion, my story about it at the time was that he wanted me to be the way he wanted me to be, and he didn't really care about me. Now, somewhat it's a story, but the only important thing is that we were very much at odds. And we started to reconcile after I finished college a little bit. Like, we started to talk a little bit, and some of the anger was starting to go away, and I actually started to teach him how to deal with my sisters who were having their own challenges a little bit. And then suddenly he got pancreatic cancer after he retired, and within 6 months he was gone. And the year after he died, I was almost like a madman. I'm Jewish, and there's a Jewish practice called saying Kaddish. You go to synagogue 2 or 3 times a day, and you say a certain prayer when somebody's died. And if it's a parent in particular, you go for a year after they've died. And that entire year, I was like a madman, because some days I would feel like I was missing him, and I'd go to synagogue and I'd say the prayers as I was supposed to. And some days I was just like in so much anger at how things ended up, and the fact that, quote, and I'm quoting myself here, he had died before he had properly apologized to me for everything he had done to me. Now, I'm playing the complete victim here on purpose. That's kind of where I was at the time. I was the victim of all the, quote, wrong things he did to me. And I was so angry that sometimes I said, hell no, I'm not going to synagogue and say prayers for him. And I was almost like I was schizophrenic that whole year. It's like some days I would go, some days I would not go. You know, and eventually the anger kind of eased, but I'd say for a good, probably at least 10 years, maybe even 15 years after he passed away, I still was not at peace with my father. And I went to an intuitive in Florida where I was living, and we did some sessions about this. And during one of the sessions, she asked me, after we had done some work, are you willing to forgive your father? And I went inside and I checked, and I said, no, actually I'm not. But then she said something that made all the difference into the world to me. She said, are you willing to release your father from being an example of how a father should be for his son? I'm going to say that again. Are you willing to release your father, not forgive him, release him from being an example of how a father should be for a son? And I thought about that, and I was like, yes, I can release him from that obligation. In other words, what I did is I stopped needing to see him as an example of anything, as an example of how a father was supposed to be. Not the same as forgiving. And I really don't believe in the whole forgiving, like you're supposed to forgive people. I think that whole thing is a trap, so I don't even use that when I'm working with people. But releasing them from being an example, that's essential. So I'm going to ask you right now, Franklin, I'm actually going to ask each of you, would you be willing to release your father from being an example of how someone needs to be successful in business?
Yes.
So then you can just say, he did what he did, and it's my life to choose how I'm going to be in business. Does that feel comfortable for you?
Can you repeat that, please?
He did what he did, but I'm going to do what I do. I'm going to do business right. I'm going to do business successful, and I'm going to be ethical and caring and loving and successful, not the way he is, not the way he was. Can you choose that?
Yes.
How does that feel to you?
It feels right.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel any energy there, like, wow, like, I can do this? I could actually be successful in business, not have to be any of the ways I didn't like that my father was. I can be the amazing Franco that I am and be successful.
I did feel something like that, like a bit of a release, like a weight was just, take a breath, and the fog in my head was cleared a little bit.
Good.
It's hard to explain.
Oh, no, it's not. I totally get that. I can even feel that. Yes. Yeah, you're literally releasing him from your life for that purpose. He's just not an example for being a successful business person. And you're literally releasing him, as you said, from your head, from your emotional body. You actually feel it in your body, Sam?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. What do you feel in particular?
A little, like an absence of weight on my head and my shoulders. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Absolutely. A slight release of tension. It's like there was a dark weight that has been lifted a little bit off the upper back and my head.
Oh yeah.
And I didn't realize it was there until you shaped that statement to me that I could be successful on my own merit.
That's really great, Franco, and I really want to emphasize the importance of feeling it in your body. A spiritual teacher I saw for years, her whenever she helped me clear something, she would ask me, how do I feel in my body? And it's so important to take it all the way to a cellular level inside your body. This really does shift your consciousness. If you're not feeling it and it's just a head thing, that's just only going to get you at a surface level, and you'll notice that those paradigms will come back. But when it's in your body and it's in a cellular level, it reaches all the way into the subconscious, the conscious, and the superconsciousness. And these bodies are vessels, and whatever we feel in them has a huge impact on how we move through the world. So thank you for checking in and feeling in your body. And everyone on the call, I encourage you to check in and how you feel in your body while we talk about clearing and creating a whole new context for money.
Excellent. Okay. Franco, does that feel complete for now?
Yes, it actually did.
Okay. Good. Now that's going to continue to release. Like you may see changes over the next week. Like things are just going to keep like lifting off of you. So just over the next week, just keep noticing what you notice about how you feel, how you think, and see if things just keep getting easier for you. Okay?
I'll work on making a log. So
Great.
Writing down.
Fabulous. Good.
Hopefully I have something to share with you guys next week.
That's excellent. Excellent. All righty. Erica, you're next. Are you ready?
Sure.
Okay. Are you still feeling what you shared before, or did yours clear already? Because sometimes when somebody else does it, it clears for multiple people.
Yeah, it's cleared a little bit. I feel a lighter tension in my sinus and my head as well. And it took me a second. When you first asked the question, my answer was still no. And then when you continued on and you said it was about, I can't remember, something about releasing them but also being the person that you want to be, and your life has nothing to do with the other person's life, that you can be your own self, I guess. It's just, and I went, something just kind of shifted, and I went, oh, yeah, I like the idea of being really loving and warm and happy and sharing my love and being open and caring and kind and expressing it and having it be a happy situation.
Yeah, absolutely. I get that that's who you are. Let's dig in a little more just to make sure that we're fully cleared on this.
Yeah, there's a little more. I'm not sure what it is.
Yep.
But
Okay. All right. I think I have a sense. All right. So Absolutely. All right. So what I'm basically hearing is you have, I'll call it a story, that your father basically didn't care because, eventually your mom had to divorce. He never supported you guys. And even after he's finally, got a home and whatever, he just offers nothing. No emotional support, no monetary support, just basically nothing. Correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right. So this is actually the same thing in slightly different clothing. So basically the question for you is, are you willing to release your father from being an example of how a father should be for his daughter?
I thought the answer was yes, but I got a no.
Okay, say more. Now, it's not forgive him. I'm not asking you to forgive him. Do you feel the difference between forgive him and release him?
I guess the question that comes up to me afterwards is, what is an example of someone who is kind, caring, and loving? Because I don't really know what a father's supposed to be.
Perfect. Okay. That's perfect. You don't.
I don't. I really have no clue what the purpose of a man or a father in my life is. I didn't grow up with men, so I don't really understand the purpose.
Okay. Now, if you came here to explore that, you've done a pretty good job, haven't you?
Of
knowing what it's like to not have the loving, caring, wonderful father that ideally we would all like to have had.
I've come to understand that my father's not loving and caring after seeing loving and caring fathers and being stunned that a father could be that way. But I didn't know a father should be. He was really kind of a non-existent person in my life before, so.
Right. And then when he showed up, it was like he still hadn't gotten his act together.
Yeah, still not showing love the way I imagined or thought or hoped.
Right, the way you would like. And you get there's nothing wrong with liking things the way you'd like. You get that?
It would be
everybody
great.
wants to be loved, and it would be great to be loved by a father. But some of us, I'll just say it this way, didn't choose fathers in this world to be that kind of a role model for us. We
Apparently
just didn't
not.
choose it. Yep. I didn't choose it. Lunetta didn't choose it. Maybe most of you on the call didn't choose fathers or mothers that way. So to say, I just have no idea what that would really be like. Maybe you've seen a little bit, but I just don't know about it. I don't know from it.
Right.
Is it okay to just say that?
Yes, I have no clue.
Yeah, I have no clue. Now, there's nothing wrong that I have no clue. Because, this is not about you. This is about him. And this is really important for all of us who've had some relatives who have, I'll just say, I'm doing some quotes, mistreated us in some way. Either been abusive in some way or neglectful in some way. It's usually one or the other.
Yes, oh, go ahead, sorry.
No, go ahead, say what you're going to say.
Oh, no, on some level I can shift and understand that, even on a deeper level, like your life is yours. You choose to be how you are, and you continue to choose to be how you are, and that's your prerogative.
Right.
I don't need to choose to be that way.
Good. But what I want everybody on the call to get is, for all those people who did what they did or didn't do what they didn't do that we don't like, all the examples you all gave on the call, it's not about us. If they had had a different son or daughter or granddaughter or sister, the same thing would have happened. In other words, none of this is personal to us. It's all about them. In other words, instead of us, there could have been 100 different stand-ins. You know, instead of you, Erica, there could be another girl who had that, your dad, and he would have done exactly the same thing. There could have been 100 different girls that could have taken your place, and almost for sure your father would have acted exactly the way he did. Do you get that?
Yeah, I guess so.
No, this is really important. It was not about you. This is who he is, but he isn't this way because of you. He's this way because of him.
Mm-hmm.
See,
Right.
all of us who are running the not worthy, not deserving story, and Lynette and I have both run this as well for most of our lives. That's because what we do is we say that the stuff that happened to us, whatever it was because of us. But that's a total lie. It's always because of them. It was never because of us. You know, and one of the things to get, a little understanding will also help here. Like Lynetta can share that her father, she found out recently, you know, that he, and Rachel can share this also, he was very neglectful on a lot of levels. Like he just could not provide emotional support. Financial support was difficult at times. There were so many things he couldn't do. He couldn't even properly physically protect them from other people at times. But recently, Lynetta found out that he had had some incredibly severe abuse as a kid from his relatives. Now, this is not to excuse anybody for what they did. I'm not saying anything that went on is right in any way. But if you think about it, like all the things that any of us have, quote, done wrong. You know, something, you know, I did, you did to somebody that, you know, looking back on it's like, oh, my God, I can't believe I did that. And would I do that now with who I am now? And the obvious answer is no, of course not. The person I am now would not do what I did then. Like, for example, when I was married, I did a lot of passive-aggressive stuff with my wife. And that was just because I didn't have the tools to do with the emotional stuff I had. I just didn't have any tools at the time. So I, you know, limped along the best I could, and I used a lot of passive-aggressive stuff. And, of course, it didn't work for her and didn't work for me. Would I do that stuff now? Of course not. That's not who I am now. So how are you about releasing your father, Erica, for being an example for anything? He's no example of how a father should be. And the whole experience of your father has nothing to say about you. What happened between you and your father and what didn't happen between you and your father has nothing to do with you being not worthy, not deserving, or any of the other beliefs that we've shared on this call, that we've all shared. It all has to do with him. It has nothing to do with you, any of that. How does that feel?
I feel a sadness. Like I'd like to let it go because I'm sure something must have happened to make him the person that he is, and out of kind of a breaking of my heart for Lynetta's father, as much as thinking about my own father, I feel sad. I don't know what happened or if anything happened, but I figure something must have happened, and out of sadness for him, I want to release him because it must have been hard for him.
Yeah, let me just jump in for a minute, Erica. When I heard the story of what happened with my dad, I was like really sad that my dad had not shared that. I knew about some of the stories, but the way he had shared recently in this email, he went into great depth and detail, and he even shared in the email that he was feeling emotional, which he normally never showed that before. And it touched my heart so much that I didn't really care any more about the impact of how it hurt me. I was just missing that my dad didn't share that part of himself, because I could love him more with him sharing and being authentic and being, vulnerable with us. He had sent this email to me and my sister, Rachel, and I felt like, wow, I missed out on getting to know him. Like, if I would have known this story, it would have moved my heart and had me feel more connected. And I would have loved to have the opportunity to, have a real conversation where he shared his authentic heart. And I could at least feel connected to him,
Yeah, I think that's what I feel. I feel kind of a sadness in my heart for your father as well and my dad that, this kind of feeling of, I'm sorry, I didn't know, like you must have been suffering and it's hard for you to share your emotions and whatever happened. I'm sorry, and if you need something, I'm here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's
This
also,
is Rachel.
Rachel, jump in.
Yeah. I just wanted to share about how I felt complete about the experience with our dad. It wasn't because I didn't have the same connection as far as just really connecting with the story, so feeling more compassionate. I didn't feel that way at all. I instead felt complete when I realized that my dad is not just my dad. He's a human being, and he had a human being experience, and what he went through and how he is unemotionally available and how he is unavailable to be any kind of a father, it has nothing to do with me.
Mm-hmm.
It has nothing to do with me, and I just, as soon as I realized, oh my gosh, he's like a man that just happened to be, yes, we happen to be connected, mother and daughter, but he really has no capacity to ever be a father. And then I had to mourn that. So when you just said that you were feeling that sadness, it made me think of that mourning I had of I didn't have a father that typically, I thought that everybody should have. But then as soon as I filled that space with something complete within me that I could come in and fulfill, it just felt now I can have a relationship with my dad and not expect really for him to feel anything. I don't know if that helps.
Oh, I hear you, and it kind of resonates with something I felt about my father before. I've had glimpses of seeing him as just, a person, just, Joe Brown down the corner who has a rough life. In this case, he happens to be my father, but I've been able to see him separately, like you said, like he's just a person. Before I came along, he was his own person. He had his own life and his own struggles, and it's not, I don't even want to say it's not his fault. It's what happened to him, and he's just trying to do the best that he can with what he learned.
Yes, and I also realized that with our parents that they were not born in an era where there was a lot of self-help and empowerment tools that we have available now.
Yeah.
They basically had shrinks that they would go to, and I've been to some of those shrinks when I was 15, and all they do is listen to you. They didn't offer any tools whatsoever other than medication.
Right.
So where were they going to get the tools from? They didn't get it from their parents. How were they going to learn it? You know, now we have all these tools available. And the thing is, we can stop it from moving forward now to our children and our grandchildren. And we can also learn from it and go, wow, what did the contrast teach me? Like my dad not being emotionally available has shown me that I want to be available for my loved ones. So that's my point.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for sharing, Rachel and Erica. I appreciate your input.
Now, there's one more piece.
Thank you.
Yeah, there's one more piece I want to add here. One of the things we do as children, one of my teachers, the one who actually, had made that distinction between forgiving and releasing, shared that until about age 7, what happens to us, it's almost like we're hypnotized, like it goes straight into our subconscious that this is the truth. So, for example, when we as children don't have our needs met, we basically jump to this place of, oh, it must be something about me. Like we just don't have minds to comprehend it was never about us, it was about them. And, when you're a small kid, a parent or relative basically looks like God. They're almost like God's representative to us. And we therefore think what they thought of us, did to us, didn't do. It's almost as if God is making a declaration about our value, our worthiness, our sense of deserving. And it's almost like we were hypnotized as kids because our minds were not able to do anything else with what happened. But now as adults, we can look at this and say, oh, you know what? They were one of about 6 billion people on this planet, and their opinion of us, what they do or didn't do, isn't any more important than anybody else on this planet. It doesn't say anything about us.
You're right.
Yeah. Just because they were our biological, parent doesn't mean they knew anything about us or what they did had any significance. What they said to us, like, Franco, like, you'll never be successful. But so what? If some guy in China came to you and said that, how much would that matter?
Right.
I mean, really? Exactly, right?
It wouldn't matter.
With one of 6 billion people or however many there are. Yeah, and so what if he said that? There's another 6 billion who might say something different. Say, wow, you're awesome. Go for it. It's like we elevate our parents and relatives who took care of us to this, God status, and they're not. They were just human beings, and like we've already said, whatever happened to them happened to them, and they have nothing to say about who we are. And even if they did say, it has no relevance. None of it means anything.
That's true.
Yep. So now in Heather, do either of you want to do a little specific coaching on it, or do you feel your issues are cleared?
Well, this is Sono. My example is I don't really blame my sister. I don't really blame the other folks who had kept on telling stuff to my sister and ignored me. I guess I think I mostly blamed myself because I just took that and I kept on repeating things to myself. Good enough. Everyone's paying attention to them. I even did that to myself in school. So as a result, I actually got myself depressed for a number of years, or like almost a decade. So I pretty much just blame myself.
Okay, so this is the same thing now. So I understand it wasn't your parents. It was like other people who would compare you with your sisters, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what if that has no significance? In other words, whatever they said was all about you. And I'll just give you an example. There's no standard of right and wrong for anybody. like, for example, in the United States, we have this standard of beauty, let's say for a woman. A woman should have a certain body shape, for example, maybe a certain hair color, a certain eye color. So I saw this study that in American Samoa, they had a completely different, like, ideal for a woman. Like, an ideal woman in American Samoa used to be somebody who was, like, what we'd call really hefty. Like, she had some girth on her. And that was what an ideal woman was to everybody in American Samoa. Now, what's interesting is when TV came into American Samoa and they started watching TV shows from the United States and seeing the American ideal of what a woman's supposed to look like, all of a sudden things started to shift and people started to have all kinds of eating disorders start to crop up among women. They started to have bulimia problems and anorexia problems, and all this got created just because of American TV entering the country. Before that, a heavy woman was the ideal, and after that hit, all of a sudden everybody thought they had to be thin, and all this ease was created literally out of thin air. So going back to your example, so you had these Indian, relatives, friends, who would, like, compare
friends,
you to your...
my parents.
Yeah. So they have some standard. And what I want you to get is there's no correct standard for anything. All of this is subjective. They might say you weren't tall enough, or you were too tall, or your hair was the wrong color, or your eyes, or you're too fat, or you're too thin. Do you understand? Whatever they said, the whole thing is arbitrary.
Mm-hmm.
There's no truth to any of it.
It's all made up.
Yep.
Like, who's holding the standard of what's perfect or worthy or deserving or beautiful? Or, like, one person could love a full-figured woman, and another man could say, oh, I don't like that.
She looks emaciated.
I mean, there are different flavors and for everyone, and everybody has a different view. And who is really holding the standard on all this?
And what if there's no such thing as a standard? In other words, they may have had one in their mind, and what if you release them and their standards for what you are supposed to be?
Do that.
Can you release them?
Mm-hmm.
Does that do anything for you?
I don't feel anything different. I know intellectually that they were who they are. They were,
Mm-hmm.
and that was their programming, and it's just and they actually do this to this current day. I just can ignore it. Not as much as I kind of remove myself.
Okay. What are you feeling right now? Are you feeling still like a hurt that happened? What do you feel about all that going on right now?
I guess, if I can bring it to instead of remembering the past, to my current situations, still in that comparison mode of my sister having everything that I want, married, kid, whatever, money,
Mm-hmm.
a full-time job. I'm still a contractor. I guess anger.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Good. So she's got it all, and she had it all from way back because everybody looked on her favorably and not at you. Oh, yes?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. Good. All right. So now we're going to go back to what we started with. What if your soul chose all this to happen?
Yep, I know that. That's for sure.
But it doesn't give you any peace.
I'm sorry?
But you don't have any peace about it. In other words, your head knows it, but you're still angry, right?
Yep.
What are you really angry at? You were letting first. Go ahead.
That's a good question. Angry. Why can't I get everything? Why? I don't know.
Okay.
What am I doing wrong?
What am I doing wrong? Thank you. Okay.
As you keep asking these questions, it is helping you to get down deeper. It's like layers. And so this is really what's underneath the anger is the what am I doing wrong?
Okay. So what if, now there's a lot of directions we can go with this, and we may need to pick this up next week to get it complete. But I'm going to suggest one for right now, and maybe you'll play with that and see how this works for you. What if you were to look at it not working the way it has, like you're still a subcontractor? What if you were to look at all that, including my sister has always had everything and has everything now, and I'm still a contractor and I don't have what? What else don't you have?
I'm not married. I don't have a child. I'm in my mid to late 30s now. I'm
married,
living in a
child.
Yeah.
Okay, don't have what? Stable job?
Stable job. I'm on my own. I'm paying.
Don't have a house?
I'm paying the Bay Area. It's very expensive. Yeah, I don't have a house.
Yep. Okay. So what if you chose to have all of that exactly as you have it right now? What if you wanted to experience? I know it feels terrible, and I've been there, especially when I was going through my foreclosure and bankruptcy and divorce and all that, and it was like, it sucks, you know. And there are plenty of times I felt like incredibly lonely, not having a partner like I do now. So I know how sucky the feelings feel. But what if you actually came here to feel exactly what all this feels like right now?
Yep.
In all its suckiness. What if you were just breathing in and say, wow, this feels terrible. It's like, what an outrage. My sister's got everything. I don't have anything. What's up with this world anyways? It's almost like having fun with it.
Yep. I can see that. I can feel that.
One of the really powerful ways that we clear that we're doing now is to have so much fun with it that we like exaggerate the importance of it and really act it out with a lot of gusto. You know, so really play it up. It blows it up so big that it'll dissipate. The power of it will not hold you anymore.
So I can sense that it's not resolved yet, and that's fine. So what I'd like to suggest is play with some of these techniques. Actually, try to make it bigger, like breathe it in and feel the awfulness of all of it, literally as big as you can. You know, instead of like trying to get rid of the bad feelings, like really like breathe it in and like, oh, this is terrible. Like really make it as bad as you possibly can and see what happens.
Okay, that's good.
Can you actually do that and then get back to us next week and let us know how that works for you? Because sometimes amazing things happen with that technique.
Yeah.
I'll do that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Great.
It's so against what we're taught to do. And it will bring a whole different perspective. So just have fun with it and try it on.
Right. Make it as big as possible, as bad as possible. But you might find you can even make it funny on a certain level. You know, as if you're like on stage, like just exaggerating the heck out of it about how bad it is. You might even like stomp around the room, you know, and scream and just like really get into it and see what happens. All right?
Okay. Perfect.
Cool. Okay. We're going to be ending in a few minutes, so one of the things that I'd like to share that we're going to do for next week, what we're going to do is we're going to do some bonus calls, even though we had promised you we're going to do some additional calls. There's some amazing ways to co-opt the subconscious. There's some statements I'm going to give you next week that you're going to hear the statements, you're going to scratch your head, and you're going to go, what? how is that possible to even say that? But and that's exactly what your mind is going to do with it, but it's going to kind of like slip into your subconscious. So I'm going to share these with you next week, and you'll be amazed at how they work.
And we're going to be on Google Plus Hangouts.
What we're going to try to do for next week is we're going to try, we'd actually like you to see us because sometimes there are certain things we do. Actually, there's a hand puppet demo that we did this morning. We literally created it, and it was an amazing clearing technique. And this one we can't do over the phone. We really need to show you. So what we want to do is see if we can use Google Hangouts next week to do the call. Now, we haven't done this yet, so we're going to be testing it out. To do Google Hangouts, what you would need is to either be on a computer. Now, you don't have to have a webcam yourself. You can if you want, and the video stream can be turned on or off. Or you can use an Android or an iPhone. There's an app for Google Hangouts. So what I'd like to suggest is download the app and set up your computer so it's ready. We're going to try it out during the week, and we're going to give instructions for how to do it if we find it works okay. Now, one question I have for everybody on the call is, are all of you able to do that, or will any of you only be able to do a phone call?
I might have a little trouble because of my reception here. I don't have Wi-Fi at work, and they block out Google Hangout.
They do?
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, one thing that's on my to-do list is to see if we can do Hangouts with a call-in number. Do you happen to know the answer to that, Franco?
Not at the top of my head, no.
Okay, so that's one of the things I'm going to research. So what I'm going to suggest to everybody is we're going to send out some additional emails that'll see which way we're going to go, and we're going to see if there's a way to simultaneously, support phones and the Google Hangouts.
Okay, I'm in on that. It's Heather.
All right.
All right, great.
All right. So thank you all so much for being on the call today.
Thank you for participating. And also, if anybody, we do record these calls, and if any time there's anyone who doesn't not want to be recorded, let us know. All of you either have our email or you can text me at 408-202-0058 and let me know. Do not have me on the recording. Okay?
Okay.
And I just want to acknowledge everybody for being on the call and sharing so openly. And lastly, I just want to thank my son who just jumped on the call from Florida for the last 10 or 15 years.
Oh, welcome, Yosef.
First time he gets to see what Dad does. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
And let us know how things go. And you don't have to wait to the call. There's a link to the Facebook group, and you can post something there. And if something comes up you want to work on, let us know in advance also. That way we can plan for it.
And that Facebook page on Live Ablaze is our new Facebook page, and that one you can comment on. I noticed the Monday Magnetizing one, you can't make comments. I mean, you can make comments, but you can't do an original posting.
Yeah. So we're setting things up for even better communication. So thank you all again, and we'll see you all next week.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye. Good night.
All right.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye.